Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Shtotaras Shishimad Bhai Charanada Vinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Shtotaras Shishimad Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Goli Vaishnavindi Ki Jai. Namacharya Shil Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sika Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavana Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Sambeta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the assembled devotees. Go Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye. So, because tomorrow is Ratha Yatra, we're going to have a special edition this morning and go right to the Bhagavatam and hear about this pastime of Ratha Yatra. And we'll be reading first from the Krishna book, from chapter number 82. Lord Krishna and Balarama meet the inhabitants of Vrindavana. Once upon a time, while Lord Krishna and Balarama were living peacefully in their great city of Dwarka, there was the rare occasion of a full solar eclipse, such as takes place at the end of every kalpa, or day of Brahma. At the end of every kalpa, the sun is covered by a great cloud, and incessant rain covers the lower planetary systems up to Swargaloka. By astronomical calculation, people were informed about this great eclipse prior to its taking place, and therefore everyone, both men and women, decided to assemble at the holy place in Kurukshetra, known as Samanta Panchaka. Known as what? Say, Samanta Panchaka. So we're going to go to Samanta Panchaka this morning to try to, we'll just hear. We won't try anything except try to hear. And just by hearing what's been given to us from the superior authorities, the natural effect will be there just as much as if one goes to an authorized doctor and takes the medicine that's given, the effect will be there. So we're hearing this just with submission and understanding that the doctor, Krishna, and whoever has gone to Krishna's medical school and has attained this has been cured and knows the potency of the medicine. Just with that kind of faith, we hear these topics and let them have their effect. Nothing more needed than submissive hearing. The Samanta Panchaka pilgrimage site is celebrated because Lord Parashuram performed great sacrifices there after killing all the Kshatriyas in the world 21 times. And when Lord Parashuram killed all the Kshatriyas, their accumulated blood flowed like a stream. Lord Parashuram dug 5 big lakes at Samanta Panchaka and filled them with this blood. Lord Parashuram is Vishnu Tattva, as stated in the Ishopanishad. Vishnu Tattva cannot be contaminated by any sinful activity. Yet although Lord Parashuram is fully powerful and uncontaminated, in order to exhibit an ideal character, he performed great sacrifices at Samanta Panchaka to atone for his so-called sinful killing of the Kshatriyas. By his example, Lord Parashuram established that the killing art, although sometimes necessary, is not good. Lord Parashuram considered himself culpable for the sinful killing of the Kshatriyas. Therefore, how much more culpable are we for such abominable, unsanctioned acts? Thus, from time immemorial, the killing of living entities is prohibited all over the world. Taking advantage of the occasion of the solar eclipse, all important persons from all parts of Bharatavarsha visited the holy place of pilgrimage. Some of the important personalities are mentioned as follows. Among the elderly persons were Akrura, Vasudeva, Ugrasena, and among the younger generation were Gada, Pradyumna, Samba, and many other members of the Yadu dynasty, who had come there with a view to atone for sinful activities accrued in the course of discharging their respective duties. Because almost all the members of the Yadu dynasty went to Kurukshetra, some important personalities like Aniruddha, the son of Pradyumna, and Kritavarma, the commander-in-chief of the Yadu dynasty, along with Suchandras, Shuka, and Sarana, remained in Dwarka to protect the city. Hare Krishna. Welcome. I'm so happy to see you're here. All members of the Yadu dynasty were naturally very beautiful. Yet on this occasion, when they appeared duly decorated with gold necklaces and flower garlands, dressed in valuable clothing, and properly armed with their respective weapons, their natural beauty and personalities were 100 times enhanced. The members of the Yadu dynasty came to Kurukshetra in their gorgeously decorated chariots, which resembled the airplanes of the demigods, and which were pulled by big horses that moved like the waves of the ocean. Some Yadus rode on sturdy, stalwart elephants that moved like the clouds in the sky. Their wives were carried on beautiful palanquins by beautiful men whose features resembled those of the Vidyadharas. The entire assembly looked as beautiful as an assembly of the demigods in heaven. After arriving in Kurukshetra, the members of the Yadu dynasty took their baths ceremoniously, with self-control as enjoined in the Shastras, and they observed fasting for the whole period of the eclipse in order to nullify the reactions of their sinful activities. Since it is a Vedic custom to give in charity as much as possible during the hours of the eclipse, the members of the Yadu dynasty distributed many hundreds of cows in charity to the brahmanas. All these cows were fully decorated with nice dress and ornaments. The special feature of these cows was that they had golden ankle bells and flower garlands on their necks. After the eclipse, all the members of the Yadu dynasty again took their baths in the lakes created by Lord Parashuram. Then they sumptuously fed the very unfortunate, because not one, fed the Brahmins with first-class cooked food, all prepared in butter. I'm going to read the sentence over. I skipped a page. After the eclipse, all the members of the Yadu dynasty again took their baths in the lakes created by Lord Parashuram. Then they sumptuously fed the Brahmanas with first-class cooked food, all prepared in butter. According to the Vedic system, there are two classes of food. One is called raw food and the other is called cooked food. Raw food does not indicate raw vegetables and raw grains, but rather food boiled in water, whereas cooked food is made in ghee. Chapatis, dal, rice, and ordinary vegetables are called raw foods and are fruits and salads. But puris, kachoris, samosas, sweet balls, and so on are called cooked foods. All the brahmanas invited on that occasion by the members of the Yadu dynasty were fed sumptuously with cooked food. The ceremonial functions performed by the members of the Yadu dynasty externally resembled the ritualistic ceremonies performed by the karmis. When a karmi performs some ritualistic ceremony, his ambition is sense gratification, good position, good wife, good house, good children, or good wealth. But the ambition of the members of the Yadu dynasty was different. Their ambition was to offer Krishna perpetual devotion with faith. All the members of the Yadu dynasty were great devotees. As such, after many births of accumulated pious activities, they were given the chance to associate with Lord Krishna. In going to take their baths in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, in observing the regulative principles during the solar eclipse, or in feeding the brahmanas, in all their activities they simply thought of devotion of Krishna. They simply thought of devotion to Krishna. Their ideal worshipable Lord was Krishna and no one else. After the brahmanas are fed, it is a custom for the host, with their permission, to accept prasadam. Thus, with the permission of the brahmanas, all the members of the Yadu dynasty took lunch. Then they selected resting places underneath big shady trees. And when they had taken sufficient rest, they prepared to receive visitors, among whom were relatives and friends, as well as many subordinate kings and rulers. There were the rulers of the Matsya province, Ushinara province, Koshala province, Vidarbha province, Kuru province, Srinjaya province, Kamboja province, Kekai province, Madras province, Kunti province, Ahanarta province, Kerala province, and many other countries and provinces. Some of the rules belonged to the opposing parties and some were friends. Some of the rulers belonged to opposing parties and some were friends. But above all, the visitors from Vrindavana were most prominent. The residents of Vrindavan, headed by Nanda Maharaj, had been living in great anxiety because of separation from Krishna and Balarama. Taking advantage of the solar eclipse, they all came to see their life and soul, Krishna and Balarama. So Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Nina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahmayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Well, you didn't get there. There's a lot of moving around up there on the screen, but we never made it. Okay. So this performance of ritualistic sacrifices at a holy place during the eclipse of the sun. Notice in this last statement that Prabhupada made that the residents of Vrindavan took advantage of the opportunity to come and see Krishna. It's very different from those who are fixed on the rituals themselves. There are ways in which there are many detailed rituals in the Shastra which one propitiates various demigods or performs rituals for one's forefathers and so forth. But we'll find that the residents of Vrindavan, although performing all these things, in fact, even in the house of Nanda and Yashoda, they worship Lord Vishnu. And Nanda Maharaj also was performing the Indra Yagya and so forth. All these Vedic ceremonies are going on. However, they take advantage of them simply so they can be near Krishna. So this is the situation in Kurukshetra. Although people are coming from many different regions all over the world, everyone for their own reason. In fact, we see that when these kinds of ceremonies go on, people come for various reasons. Internally, they have different reasons. Externally, it may look like everyone's coming to the same place, but they all have different motives for being there. So understanding the motive of the residents of Vrindavan is very important in this pastime and in this context, that they're motivated by coming to see Krishna. In the Gita, Krishna says, Yavanartha udapani sarvatasam pratodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanataha. And that is that one who knows the purpose behind the Vedas can take full advantage of them. If one has a river, Krishna says in that verse, he can fulfill all his needs for water that are otherwise supplied by little wells here and there around the town. If one just has a flowing river with pure water, one can get water any old time one wants. So similarly, those who know the purpose behind the Vedas, not only do they know the purpose, the residents of Vrindavan, but they're absorbed in the purpose of the Vedas. which is to love Krishna, to come to this point. So one of the interesting aspects of this pastime is that there's this confluence of various personalities coming from all over the universe to this place to take advantage of the holy place. And we see this in Vrindavana or at Kumbh Mela or anywhere else. For instance, at Kumbh Mela, Prabhupada went to Kumbh Mela. Kumbh Mela is a very special astrological time by which you can get some special nectar. Everyone wants some nectar in this life. Why did Prabhupada go to Kumbh Mela? He didn't go to take a bath at the precise time. He went there to bathe others in the nectar of Krishna consciousness. In fact, the last Kumbh Mela Prabhupada attended was in 1977 before he left this world. And on his way to Kumbh Mela, he was talking to his secretary for the BBT all about his ambitions to spread Krishna conscious literature all over the world. The Kumbh Mela was set up at that year. There was some arrangement made by one devotee to get the best spot possible. He paid the money because you have to pay for your space and everything. And when all the devotees arrived there, it turned out that he had been cheated. The devotee had been cheated. They gave us, although it was advertised as a great spot, one very remote place under a railroad bridge where the train would come by and you could deafening sound and so forth. So when Prabhupada saw the situation, he assessed as the general, he assessed the entire situation and he said, from this base, we will go out and infiltrate the entire Kumbh Mela, and there we will distribute prasad, harinam, and thousands of books. At the time in India, the book that they had was Easy Journey to Other Planets in Hindi. And that was his purpose of being at Kumbh Mela. He didn't come to Kumbh Mela like others came there, that they have to bathe at the right time in the right place in order to attain some auspicity. Those who are distributing Krishna consciousness are already bathing in auspicity at every moment. Their very movements in life, thinking about how to give others Krishna consciousness, is the very essence of Krishna's mission. And Krishna says himself in the Bhagavad Gita, one who is doing so is the most dear to me in this world. If someone is engaged in that kind of activity, will he or she not feel that affection from Krishna? Obviously they will. In any case, the devotees went out into the Kumbh Mela and they had Harinam Kirtan. And by the end of the Kirtan, the Hare Krishnas were the hit of Kumbh Mela. Even the millions of people there, we made the giggest splash out of anybody, or the biggest splash, even a bigger splash than everyone jumping in the water at the same time. People, Giriraj Maharaj told me, were calling out, Shubhan Yatra, Shubhan Yatra. They wanted the easy journey to other planets. Everyone was asking for it. By the end of the Kumbh Mela, people were calling out, we want this book, and so forth. So in a similar context, the residents of Vrindavana, they use this as an excuse to come and see Krishna. And similarly, devotees are always looking for an excuse to come together to hear it and chant. Sometimes we get together for birthday parties or who knows what else. There's so many different observances one can that are recommended. We come together for these programs simply to hear and chant. It's another excuse to hear about Krishna. The inhabitants of Vrindavan were well-wishers and intimate friends of the Yadu dynasty. This meeting of the two parties after long separation was a very touching incident. Is everyone okay? Not too much energy flying around? It's all right? Fully concentrated. All the Yadus and the residents of Vrindavana felt such great pleasure in meeting and talking together that it was a unique scene. Meeting after long separation, they were all jubilant. Their hearts throbbed and their faces appeared like freshly bloomed lotus flowers. Drops of tears fell from their eyes, the hair on their bodies stood on end, and because of their extreme ecstasy, they were temporarily speechless. In other words, they dove into the ocean of happiness. While the men were meeting in that way, the women also met. one another in the same manner. They embraced one another in great friendship, smiling very mildly, and looked at one another with much affection. When they were embracing one another in their arms, the saffron and kumkum spread on their breasts was exchanged from one person to another, and they all felt heavenly ecstasy. Due to such heart-to-heart embracing, torrents of tears glided down their cheeks. Their juniors were offering obeisances to the elders, and the elders were offering their blessings to the juniors. They thus welcomed one another and asked after one another's welfare. Ultimately, however, all their talk was only of Krishna. All the neighbors and relatives were connected with Lord Krishna's pastimes in this world. And as such, Krishna was the center of all their activities. Whatever activities they performed, social, political, religious, or conventional, were transcendental. So we find in this section a very important aspect of devotional service, and that is the relationships, loving relationships between the devotees. Rupa Goswami gives this advice in the Nectar of Instruction. Dadati pratigranati guyam akyati prishchati bhunkte bojayate chaiva shadvidam pratilakshanam. That there are exchanges of love between one devotee and another. Giving prasad, accepting prasad. Speaking one's heart to the other, hearing the other speak their heart to the other. And exchanging gifts. And in the association of devotees, there is also a natural etiquette that is observed by advanced devotees. Even Krishna himself, when he meets various other personalities, observes this etiquette. That with Maharaj Yudhisthira, Krishna would touch his feet. With others, he would accept an embrace. And in this pastime also, we see that the devotees, appropriately according to their position in the society, would interact with one another appropriately. So Chaitanya, this is one aspect of what is called etiquette. And this allows for the flow of mercy to come to all the devotees, because mercy flows down from higher down to the lower. And in a devotional society, therefore, devotees are very careful about this etiquette, in that they offer the respects to seniors, and the seniors are very attentive to give affection and mercy to the juniors and so forth. Not that it's just by age also, although that's also important. But also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pointed out that one who is advanced in devotional service is also considered sometimes to be senior to somebody else who is older in years. But through proper etiquette, one can take full advantage of the contents of the hearts of the devotees. There's a way in which in envious circles, Prabhupada said, sometimes people will come together in one big group. Some are superior, some are inferior, as is natural. But the ones who are inferior might then say, well, in this group, let's just say we're all equal. We'll just call it even. And that way they can't take advantage. Envious people don't like to admit that someone might be more advanced. And Prabhupada also gives an example of several friends who grew up together. And one of them went off and became a high court judge after going to law school. And two of the friends had a discussion many years later after they had grown up as children. And one of them said, "Did you know that our friend Dilip has become a high court judge?" And the other one says, "No, impossible. Dilip? No way. He's one of us." He said, "No, he went to law school, he became a high court judge." He said, "I don't believe it." He said, "I saw him. He's there. He's in the court. He's there sitting behind the bench. He's got a gavel. He's giving out sentences." And the other friend said, "Yeah, but I'll bet he's not getting paid." Because this is envy. One doesn't want to admit somebody's in a superior position. Somebody can advance. Prabhupada mentions also, there's a verse in the Smriti Shastra that says that if one is naked in one's childhood, then shall one remain naked? The logic is someone says, well, they were naked when they were a kid. They should stay naked now. Meaning that someone can't advance. They can't be in another position. But in refined Vaishnava association, there's a sensitivity to the various positions of the devotees who are present. What kind of service have they done? What kind of mercy have they achieved, and so forth? And that etiquette of offering proper respect is there. You'll find even the Beta Kirtan pastimes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when King Prataparuja is observing the different devotees interacting, this is one of the subtle points that he notices, that there's special respect showed to some. Respect is showed to all, but some who were there were given more respect than others, and so forth. This awareness of this kind of differentiation is part of Vaishnava etiquette, and it makes the environment very sweet, because mercy is flowing from up to down, and those who are submissive are taking advantage of it. When it becomes a little bit dry, we might notice some Vaishnava Sangha was like, yeah, everyone's just equal. There's no difference between, we're all just part of the same thing, and there's no difference between one and the other. In one sense, that's true. Each Vaishnava is considered to be a Vaishnav, whether big or small, just like on the Ganges. There are small waves, and there are little rivulets, or there are little ripples. And they're both considered waves. One's big, one's small. They're both from the Ganges. So how can you say one's bigger, one's smaller? This is a Chintya Beta Beta Tattva, simultaneous one and difference. This subtle understanding that yes, all Vaishnavas are worshipable, but some we give special deference to because of their position and so forth. And Rupa Goswami in his Upadeshamrita also gives this differentiation, or the way to differentiate. Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta dikshasti chet pranadibishta bhajantamisham shushushaya bhajana vignamananyamanya nindari shunya hridamipsita sangalabhya. That there's a way that we honor those who are chanting Hare Krishna in our minds. Then we offer pranams to those who are initiated. And then for those who are very advanced in devotional service, we give full submission. So gradations within the oneness, there's difference. And this is what makes it sweet. Variety is the mother of enjoyment. And just knowing how to act within that variety makes one an accomplished devotee. Because you can relish the mellows in that way very nicely. The real elevation, is everyone okay? You all stayed out late chanting Hare Krishna on the streets last night, packed up and everything, and then you came in early. That's pretty good. That's the way to live life. The real elevation of human life rests on the knowledge of renunciation. Now that one you can live on for the rest of your life. I'll just repeat the sentence, because if we just take this, put it in your pocket, and live on it every day, you'll be a happy person for the rest of your life. You'll be a sukhi nara, a happy human. You want to be a happy human? Raise your hand. I would like to be a happy human. Okay, here it is. The real elevation of human life rests on knowledge and renunciation. Knowledge and renunciation. How could you be happy with renunciation? Don't you need a car as big as a living room? And the comfiest situation you could possibly get. I just stayed with a couple when I was in Chicago over the weekend. Went in their apartment, and they don't have any furniture. They apologize. We don't have any furniture. They have a couple of chairs here and there, but it's not. But they're happy humans because they're fixed on the mission in life. They bought a place close to the temple, 5 blocks. It's a 6.5 minute walk if you walk fast. If you want to walk slow, it's 10 minutes to get to Mangalartik. And they leave for Mangalartik every day at 20 minutes after 4 o'clock. And they're fully absorbed in being connected to the temple. So they live in an apartment, they're householders, they have everything. But their life is based on knowledge and renunciation, and therefore they're happy. So if you make this the basis of your life, this knowledge and renunciation, to be happy. It's very interesting. Renunciation puts you on the cutting edge. That's the cutting edge of life, is renunciation. When, for instance, you say you perform 16 good rounds, you make it your goal in life to make your 16 perfect. Well, that was interesting. When you texted, that interfered with the signal. Now I'm starting to believe what they say on the airplanes. I always thought it was bogus. Just when you did the click, it interfered with the signal. Wow. I'm going to actually put my phone on airplane mode when we take off from now on, so we don't crash. But when you take this austerity to fully focus on chanting 16 rounds, which means Nam bina kichu nahi ko oro choda bhuvana maje. You take the realization of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there's nothing else to be had in the 14 worlds. This is the way to enter into this austerity, which Krishna says is the best of sacrifices in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 10th chapter. If you take that and you just fix your mind on this one thing, at least for 16 rounds, without any other consideration, you're on the cutting edge. There's nobody else in the city doing what you're doing. Everyone else is being carried away, driven to faraway lands on the chariot of the mind. But you, on the other hand, are sitting there and you're actually taking Krishna's advice to fully focus on him and just think of him with no other consideration. That is cutting edge. That's life. That's what they call living large. When you fast on Ekadashi and you feel the twinge and the senses are saying, we got to eat, and you say, I ain't eating. I don't care what anybody says. I ain't eating for nothing because it's Ekadashi. And you just do it. You're on the cutting edge. You're above the rest of the fray who are just struggling hard just to try to get ahead, and they never do. But you're getting ahead because the transcendence is always situated in acts of sacrifice. That's where it is. And Krishna says, Somri tatvaya kalpate, that's who's eligible for nectar. That's cutting edge. So knowledge and sacrifice, this is the basis of human life. And one who knows how to get that is called a brahmana. One who knows how to get refined knowledge and dedicates him or herself to renunciation as the wealth in life, actually knows what is the real happiness in life. What does Krishna say in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita about the Sukhi Nara? How does that verse start? Shaknoti haiva yashodhum praksharira vimokshanat. Kama krodod bhavam vedam sayukta sa sukhi nara. So he says, Shaknoti haiva yashodhum praksharira vimok. Before you give up this body, before you give up the body, don't be cheated. Don't wait till the last minute. Before you give up the body, prak means before, sharira vimokshanat, before you're forced to give the body back. Praksharira vimokshanat. Shaknoti haiva yashodhum. One who develops the shakti or the ability to control the senses. Shaknoti haiva yashodhum praksharira vimokshanat. Kama krodot vavam vegam. Who can control the urges of kama and kroda, the lust and anger. Sa yukta sa sukhi nara. A person that can do that becomes sukhi nara. They say sukhi nara. It's Japanese. Sukhi nara. It means a happy human. Sukhi nara das. The happy human. The servant of the happy human. Okay. The real elevation of human life rests on knowledge and renunciation. As stated in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, devotional service rendered to Krishna automatically produces perfect knowledge and renunciation. The family members of the Yadu dynasty and the cowherds of Vrindavana had their minds fixed on Krishna. That is a symptom of perfect knowledge. And because their minds were always engaged in Krishna, they were automatically freed from all material activities. This stage of life is called Yukta Vairagya, as enunciated by Srila Rupa Goswami, knowledge and renunciation. Therefore, do not mean dry speculation and renunciation of activities. Rather, one must start speaking and acting only in relation to Krishna. So not that we do any external or extraneous, we don't need any extraneous kind of austerity. But if we do everything that we can to stay connected to Krishna, and that's recommended, tat karma pavartana, there are varieties of activities, they're recommended by the previous acharyas, then we'll be perfectly situated in knowledge and renunciation. In this meeting at Kurukshetra, Kunti Devi and Vasudeva, who were sister and brother, met after a long separation, along with their respective sons and daughters-in-law, children and other family members. By talking among themselves, they soon forgot all their past miseries. Kunti Devi especially addressed her brother Vasudeva as follows. My dear brother, I am very unfortunate because not one of my desires has ever been fulfilled. Otherwise, how could it happen that although I have such a saintly brother as you, perfect in all respects, you did not inquire from me as to how I was passing my days in a distressed condition of life? It appears that Kunti Devi was remembering the miserable days when she had been banished with her sons through the mischievous plans of Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. She continued, my dear brother, I can understand that when providence goes against someone, even one's nearest relatives forget him. In such a condition, even one's father, one's mother, or one's own children will forget him. Therefore, my dear brother, I do not accuse you. Vasudeva replied to his sister, my dear sister, do not be sorry and do not blame me in that way. We should always remember that we are all only toys in the hands of providence. Everyone is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is under His control only that all kinds of fruitive actions and their reactions take place. My dear sister, you know that we were very much harassed by King Kamsa and his persecutions. We were scattered here and there, and by his persecutions, we were scattered here and there. We were always full of anxieties. Only in the last few days have we returned to our own places by the grace of God. After this conversation, Vasudeva and Ugrasena received the kings who came to see them, and they warmly welcomed them all. Seeing Lord Krishna present on the spot, all the visitors felt transcendental pleasure and became very peaceful. Some of the prominent visitors were as follows: Bhishmadev, Dronacharya, Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, Gandhari, along with their sons, King Yudhishthira, along with his wife, and the Pandavas, along with Kunti, as well as Sanjaya, Vidura, Kripacharya, Kuntiboja, Virata, Bhishmaka, King Nagrajit, Purajit, Drupada, Shalya, Drishtaketu, the king of Kashi, Damugosh, Vishalaksha, the king of Matila, the king of Madras, formerly known as Madra, the king of Kekaya, Yudamanyu, Shusharma, Balika, along with his sons, and many other rulers subordinate to King Yudhishthira. When the visitors saw Lord Krishna with his thousands of queens, they were fully satisfied at the sight of such beauty and transcendental opulence. All who were there personally visited Lord Balarama and Krishna, and being properly welcomed by them, they began to glorify the members of the Yadu dynasty, especially Krishna and Balarama. Because Ugrasena was the king of the Bhojas, he was considered the chief Yadu, and therefore the visitors specifically addressed him, Your Majesty, Ugrasena, king of the Bhojas. Factually, the Yadus are the only persons within this world who are perfect in all respects. All glories unto you. All glories unto you. The specific condition of your perfection is that you always see Lord Krishna, who is sought by many mystic yogis undergoing severe austerities and penances for great numbers of years. All of you are in direct touch with Lord Krishna at every moment. All the Vedic hymns glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. The Ganges water is considered sanctified because of its being the water used to wash the lotus feet of Krishna. The Vedic scriptures are nothing but the injunctions of Lord Krishna. The purpose of the study of all the Vedas is to know Krishna. Therefore, the words of Krishna and the message of his pastimes are always purifying. By the influence of time and circumstances, all the opulences of this world were almost completely wiped out. But since Krishna has appeared on this planet, all auspicious features have again appeared due to the touch of his lotus feet. Because of his presence, all our ambitions and desires are gradually being fulfilled. Your Majesty, King of the Bhojas, you are related with the Yadu dynasty by matrimonial relationship and by blood relationship also. As a result, you are constantly associating with Lord Krishna, and you have no difficulty in seeing him or touching him at any moment, at any time. Lord Krishna moves with you, talks with you, sits with you, rests with you, and dines with you. The Yadus appear to be always engaged in worldly affairs, which are considered to be the royal road to hell. But due to the presence of Lord Krishna, the original personality of Godhead in the Vishnu category, who is omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent, all of you are factually relieved from all material contamination, are situated in the transcendental position of liberation and Brahman existence. When Nanda Maharaj and the other residents of Vrindavan had heard that Krishna would be present in Kurukshetra because of the solar eclipse, and that all members of the Yadu dynasty would also be there, they had immediately prepared to go there. King Nanda, accompanied by his cowherd men, had loaded all their necessary paraphernalia on bullock carts, and all the Vrindavan residents had come to Kurukshetra to see their beloved sons, Lord Balarama and Lord Krishna. When the cowherd men of Vrindavan arrived in Kurukshetra, all the members of the Yadu dynasty were most pleased. As soon as they saw the residents of Vrindavan, they stood up to welcome them and appeared to have regained their life. All the Yadus and Vrindavan residents had been very eager to meet, and when they actually came forward and met, they embraced one another to their heart's satisfaction and remained in embrace for a considerable time. As soon as Vasudeva saw Nanda Maharaj, Vasudeva jumped up and ran over to him and embraced him very affectionately. Vasudeva began to narrate his own past history, how he had been imprisoned by King Kamsa, how his babies had been killed, how immediately after Krishna's birth he had carried Krishna to the place of Nanda Maharaj, and how Krishna and Balaram had been raised by Nanda Maharaj and his queen, Yashoda, as their own children. Similarly, Lord Balaram and Krishna also embraced King Nanda and Mother Yashoda, and then they offered their respect unto their lotus feet by bowing down. Because of their feeling affection for Nanda and Yashoda, Lord Krishna and Balaram became choked up, and for a few seconds they could not speak. The most fortunate King Nanda and Mother Yashoda placed their sons on their laps and began to embrace them to their full satisfaction. Because of separation from Krishna and Balaram, King Nanda and Yashoda had been merged in great distress for a very long time. Now, after meeting them and embracing them, all their sufferings were mitigated. After this, Krishna's mother, Devaki, and Balaram's mother, Rahini, both embraced Mother Yashoda. They said, "Dear Queen Yashoda Devi, you and Nanda Maharaj have been great friends to us, and when we remember you, we are immediately overwhelmed by the thought of your friendly activities. We are so indebted to you that even if we were to return your benediction by giving you the opulence of the King of Heaven, it would not be enough to repay you for your friendly behavior. We shall never forget your kindly behavior toward us. When Krishna and Balaram were born, before they even saw their real father and mother, they were entrusted to your care, and you raised them as your own children, fostering them as birds take care of their offspring in the nest. You have nicely fed, nourished, and loved them, and have performed many auspicious religious ceremonies for their benefit. Actually, they are not our sons. They belong to you. Nanda Maharaj and you are the real father and mother of Krishna and Balaram. As long as they were under your care, they had not even a pinch of difficulty. Under your protection, they were completely out of the way of all kinds of fear. This most affectionate care which you have taken for them is completely befitting your elevated position. The most noble personalities do not discriminate between their own sons and the sons of others, and there cannot be any personalities more noble than Nanda Maharaj and you. As far as the gopis of Vrindavan were concerned, from the very beginning of their lives, they did not know anything beyond Krishna. Krishna and Balaram were their life and soul. The gopis were so attached to Krishna that they could not tolerate not seeing him even momentarily when their eyelids blinked and impeded their vision. They condemned Brahma, the creator of the body, because he foolishly made eyelids which blinked and checked their seeing Krishna. Because they had been separated from Krishna for so many years, the gopis, having come along with Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda, felt intense ecstasy upon seeing Krishna. No one can even imagine how eager the gopis were to see Krishna again. As soon as Krishna became visible to them, they took him inside their hearts, through their eyes, and embraced him to their full satisfaction. Even though they were embracing Krishna only mentally, they became so ecstatic and overwhelmed with joy that for the time being they completely forgot themselves. The ecstatic trance they achieved simply by mentally embracing Krishna is impossible to achieve, even for great yogis constantly engaged in meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna could understand that the gopis were wrapped in ecstasy by embracing him in their minds, and therefore, since he is present in everyone's heart, he reciprocated the embracing from within. So what is considered to be the goal of yoga, the gopis naturally attain because of their love. When you love someone, you can't stop thinking about them. And even when Krishna had advised the gopis, or advises the gopis, that in the ways and means of the Ashtanga yogis, the gopis complain that actually we try to forget you because it's so much trouble to our lives feeling separation from you 24 hours a day. Our eyes are constantly wet with tears thinking of you in separation. We can't even sleep. So we want to forget you. We can't. It's impossible for us to forget you. And this is the method that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said was the topmost of all processes of yoga. When he says that Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavidu Vargina Vakalpita, he considered that the way in which the gopis worshipped Krishna was the topmost. There was no other method conceived better than that of the gopis, through which they remembered Krishna 24 hours a day out of love and in separation. And we see that even in meeting, they're feeling this great anxiety. Here they are meeting with Krishna in Kurukshetra, and this is what we are celebrating as Ratha Yatra, this coming together of the residents of Vrindavan with Krishna after 96 years of separation. And there at Kurukshetra, they're meeting Krishna, but still they're feeling this great pang of anxiety because Krishna's there surrounded by his minions and with great opulence. And they're saying, "Come, we want you in Vrindavan. We want you to come back to Vrindavan." They're pulling him back to Vrindavan. This is the pastime of Lord Jagannath. And the form of Lord Jagannath that we see on the form of Lord Jagannath is this ecstasy that Krishna is feeling towards the residents of Vrindavan. This is very esoteric form of Krishna. Sometimes people see the form of Lord Jagannath and they say, what? Of course, as some had pointed out in the 1960s when Lord Jagannath appeared, because Prabhupada came to San Francisco, the next, of course, Lord Jagannath appeared because Malati went to Cost Plus and stole, everyone uses euphemisms to describe what she did, but she went in and stole a Lord Jagannath deity. And she brought it back to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, look, I found this in Cost Plus. And Prabhupada got down and offered his obeisances to the deity. And she thought, wow, this is something. And he said, where are the others? And she said, what do you mean, where are the others? And then he described, or the other two figures. I think so. So she went and got those too. And brought them back. And the devotees began to worship Lord Jagannath. And some have said, the hippies really like that because they were looking, yeah, that's cool. That's God. That's far out. But actually, it is far out because this is a form of Krishna, practically unrecognizable out of ecstasy. His eyes are wide open. When Prahlad Maharaj talks about the Vishnu lying on the ocean in the material world, he says he's always there with half-closed eyes. He's sleeping because there's nothing really going on in the material world because there's no love. Everyone's absorbed. They're going off to 7-Eleven. They're going off to Home Depot. They don't care about anything except for, as long as I get a little sandwich and a crummy little house with some stucco on the outside, everything's fine with me. They don't feel this separation from Krishna. But in Vrindavan, they can't sleep. They can't eat. They can't do anything. They're just thinking Krishna 24 hours a day. And in Vrindavan, Krishna never sleeps either. He never goes to sleep there. If you ever notice his pastimes, he goes out in the forest all day, he comes home, and as soon as he supposedly goes to bed, he sneaks out the window again. Because his devotees are waiting for him there. And when Krishna's away from Vrindavan and he's feeling separation, and this is one of the heart-rending aspects of Krishna's pastimes, he leaves Vrindavan. The devotee, and we hear from Sanatana Goswami, the Brihat Bhagavatamrita, this pastime is going on continually. It's eternal. Him leaving Vrindavan and the gopis going through this train wreck, as Prabhupada's godbrother Srila Sridhar Maharaj used to say, this Kurukshetra, where the residents come and meet him, and the separation is, he said it's like a train wreck of separation. There's the mood, you see Jagannath, when later on Krishna and Balarama, they hear about the residents of Vrindavan and the separation they're feeling, they go into this kind of ecstasy and their features become distorted, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's features would become distorted. Sometimes he'd be like a pumpkin. All his limbs would be withdrawn. Sometimes blood would come from his pores. Sometimes his limbs would be elongated and so forth. So the form of Jagannath is his feeling of separation from the residents of Vrindavan. And when they meet at Kurukshetra, this is the pinnacle. They're there together, and still the separation comes to a fever pitch, and they're trying to bring him back to Vrindavan. This is the most esoteric festival that Prabhupada brought and introduced in San Francisco in 1967. Started there on the back of a pickup truck, of a flatbed truck, with Lord Jagannath going down the street. And even today, amidst the Santa Monica Boulevard or in the Golden Gate Park and all over the world, people are seeing this festival and feeling the effects. Of course, they don't know exactly what it is. They don't know what's going on at all. Even our chanting last night, I noticed people would come and they'd stand there. And this is my favorite part about going out for the Harinam, is watching the people gather around and that they can't leave. And they don't know why they can't leave. The kids are more demonstrative about it. They just say, like, this is cool, we're not leaving. And the parents go, well, maybe we shouldn't stay. Maybe we should still go to the bar and stuff like that. And the kids are going, nuh-uh, we're staying. And other adults, they come and they don't know why they're so attracted. And you see that look on their face. That look on their face says, this is something better than anything I've ever heard. Why is it attracting me so much? Maybe this isn't right. There's people bowing down and singing and chanting. I don't know about this, but I can't leave. They can't get away from it. And it's inexplicable practically. And all these kinds of esoteric ecstasies were brought by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through his representatives, and especially Srila Prabhupada brought it all over the world. Ratha Yatra, Harinam Sankirtan, distributing these esoteric books. I saw last night people, they have no idea what they're getting in their hands. Kids were walking up to people, people would walk away with a Krishna book. They don't know what hit them. But it goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. It never ends, the depth of this. And therefore it's the only show in town. Everything else is just grist for the mill. This is the real thing that's happening, the real show in town. And the culmination of it, of all these feelings, and the pinnacle of the Vaishnava philosophy takes place at this in Kurukshetra that we're reading about here. And that's represented by these Ratha Yatras that we're doing all over the world. Uh-oh. Where did I leave off? Krishna. Krishna was sitting with Mother Yashoda and his other mothers, Devaki and Rohini. But when the mothers engaged in talking, he took the opportunity and went to a secluded place to meet the gopis. As soon as he approached the gopis, the Lord smiled, and after embracing them and inquiring about their welfare, he began to encourage them, saying, "My dear friends, you know that Lord Balaram and I left Vrindavan just to please our relatives and family members. Thus we were long engaged in fighting with our enemies and were obliged to forget you, who were so much attached to me in love and affection. I can understand that I have been ungrateful to you, but still I know that you are faithful to me. May I inquire if you have been thinking of us, although we had to leave you behind? My dear gopis, do you now dislike remembering me, considering me to have been ungrateful to you? Do you take my misbehavior with you very seriously? After all, you should know that it was not my intention to leave you. Our separation was ordained by Providence, who after all is the supreme controller and does as he desires. He causes the intermingling of different persons and again disperses them as he desires. Sometimes we see that a strong wind will mingle clouds together, atomic particles of dust or broken pieces of cotton. And after the strong wind subsides, all the clouds, particles of dust and pieces of cotton are again separated, scattered in different places. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the creator of everything. The objects we see are different manifestations of his energy. By his supreme will, we are sometimes united and sometimes separated. We can therefore conclude that ultimately we are absolutely dependent on his will. Fortunately, you have developed loving affection for me, which is the only way to achieve the transcendental position of association with me. Can you look that verse up? It's in the Prabhupada Shloka book. Fortunately, you have developed loving affection for me, 10th canto, of course, in this chapter. Fortunately, you have developed loving affection for me, which is the only way to achieve the transcendental position of association with me. Any living entity who develops such unalloyed devotional affection for me certainly at the end goes back home, back to Godhead. In other words, unalloyed devotional service and affection for me are the cause of supreme liberation. What is the number? 1082:44. Please, within 5 seconds. 5, 4, Krishna 3, Krishna 2, Krishna 1, Krishna point 5, Krishna point 25, Krishna point 025. See, that should be the test in the booth, whether you can get there to the verse in 5 seconds. 1082:44. Okay. I'll say, then please repeat. Mayi bhaktir hi bhutanam amritatvaya kalpate dishtya yad asin mat sneho Bhavatinam madapanaha Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam Amritatvaya kalpate Dishtya yad asin matsneho Bhavatinam madapanaha. Few chanters, but use the microphones, please. Go ahead.
Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam
Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam
Amritatvaya kalpate
Amritatvaya kalpate
Dishtya yadasin matsneho
Dishtya yad asin matsneho
Bhavatina madapana
Bhavatina madapanaha
Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam
Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam
Amritatvaya kalpate
Amritatvaya kalpate
Dishtya yadasin matsneho
Dishtya yad asin matsneho
Bhavatina madapanaho
Bhavatina madapanaha
Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam
Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam
Amritatvaya kalpate
Amritatvaya kalpate
Dishtya dasin matsneho
Dishtya yad asin matsneho
Bhavatina madapanaha
Bhavatina madapanaha Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam Amritatvaya kalpate Jishyama asin matsneho Bhavatina madapanaha Mai bhakti hi bhutanam Amritatvaya kalpate Dishyaya asin matsneho Bhavatina madapanaha Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam. Give it your whole heart though, you got to sing it out. This is Krishna. Amritatvaya kalpate Jishya yad asin matsneho Bhavatina madapanaha Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam Amritatvaya kalpate Jishya dasin matsneho. Okay. Bhavatina madapanaha. Microphone. You're up. Chant.
Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam
Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam
Amritatvaya kalpate
Amritatvaya kalpate
Dishtya dasin matsneho
Jishya dasin matsneho
Bhavatina madapanaha
Bhavatina madapanaha. Someone else.
Mai Bhaktir Hi Bhutanam
Mai Bhakti Hi Bhutanam
Amritat Vaya Kalpate
Amritatvaya Kalpate
Nischayadasin Matsneho
Dishtayadasin Matsneho
Bhavati Namad Apanaha
Bhavati Namanapanaha
Mai Bhaktir Hi Bhutanam
Mai Bhakti Hi Bhutanam
Amritatvaya Kalpate
Amritatvaya Kalpate
Dishyaya Dasin Matsneho Dishyaya Bhavati Namadapanaha
Bhavati Namadapanaha Mai, to me, bhakti, devotional service. He, indeed, bhutanam, for living entities. Amritatvaya, to immortality. Kalpate, leads. Drishya, dishtya, by good fortune. Yat, which, asit, has developed. Mat, for me. Sneha, the love. Vavatinam, on the part of your good selves. Mat, me. Apanaha, which is the cause of obtaining. Rendering devotional service to me qualifies any living being for eternal life. But by your good fortune, you have developed a special loving attitude toward me. If there's some kind of IQ quiz for this, I'm going to fail. Just, where are we? Rendering devotional service to me qualifies any living being for eternal life. But by your good fortune, you have developed a special loving attitude toward me, by which you have attained me. Purport. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the gopis then replied, "But that Supreme Lord you are blaming is none other than yourself, O most clever of speakers. Everyone in the world knows this. Why should we be ignorant of this fact?" "All right," Lord Krishna then told them, "if this is true, I must be God, but still I am conquered by your loving affection." So this verse is a very important verse in understanding of, it comes right in the pastime of Kurukshetra that we're celebrating. But we see that the opulence of Krishna's opulence, which is celebrated everywhere. Everyone celebrates the grandeur of God. You go into the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Montreal, Canada. And as soon as you step in there, you'll be overwhelmed with the feeling that you're a sinner. Let me speak for myself. When I step into the Cathedral of Notre Dame, I immediately feel I'm a great sinner. I'm an insignificant living being, and I become overwhelmed with the grandeur of that cathedral. It can't be built today. Something like that. It can't be built. It's impossible. It's from another era. And similarly in Vaikuntha, the opulence of the Lord is celebrated. He's God. And whenever devotees become aware of the omnipotence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there's a kind of reticence, as Arjuna expresses in the Bhagavad Gita, when as a friend he's talking to Krishna and then he accepts him as a spiritual master and there's some more reverence. But when Krishna shows his universal form, Arjuna then becomes fearful and begins apologizing. In Vrindavan, which is saturated with this intimate love for Krishna, from his devotees to Krishna and Krishna to his devotees, which is the celebration of Ratha Yatra, this mood epitomized in this verse and the explanation of it given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. We find this, that the gopis, even when they see his godhood, they just push it aside, basically. It's like, yeah, right, we know you're God, come on, Krishna. The love is so great there that it eclipses the feeling of the grandeur that one feels for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is the pinnacle of love, that it's so great that one just sees the intimate side of Krishna in Vrindavan. There's the story of the gopis searching after Krishna in Vrindavan and to hide from them. And the story is told by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna manifests his forearm form of Narayan. And when the gopis run past, they see Narayan, they offer their obeisance, they say, by the way, have you seen Krishna? And then when Radharani comes by, Lord Narayan can't maintain his forearm form because of the intense love that Radharani has. So there's a way in which Krishna is disarmed by this love. And there is nothing that he doesn't have. He's God. He has everything. He's the source of everything. But it's this just fascinating relationship with the living entities. Achinta Beta Beta Tattva. We're simultaneously one and different from Krishna. We have this eternal relationship. Sanitya Nitya Sambandha Prakritish Parayavasa. We're the energy that has this eternal kinship with Krishna. And that can be cultivated and developed to such a point that Krishna becomes conquered by it. And Lord Chaitanya has made that accessible to everybody. That's why Rupa Goswami is exclaiming, oh, there's never been anybody more merciful than you. He knows what it is. He knows what the jewel is that Lord Chaitanya is offering, and therefore he's saying, Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gortushe Namaha. You are the most magnificent of any other incarnation who's ever appeared, because you're giving this thing that's inaccessible even to yogis. They can't attain it. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was extending it to everybody through his process of devotional service, especially this chanting of the Nam Sankirtan, association of devotees. Nam Sankirtan, within the purview of the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, which means Trinadapi Suni Chena, Toror Api Suhishnuna, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. This is a great secret. Actually, it's not a secret, it's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that in order to chant the holy name of the Lord constantly and come to this perfection of the chanting, one has to cultivate these few things. One is that I'm lower than the straw on the street. Just think about that. It's actually relief to cultivate that, because there's a way in which I prop myself up in every possible way I can, 24 hours a day, trying to be something that I'm not. But when I finally understand or admit that I'm lower than the straw on the street, then it's a great relief, a great burden. And it opens me to the whole world of appreciating Krishna unlimitedly. Before that, I can't. There's a kind of envy that blocks me because I want to be something great. But as soon as I become lower than the straw on the street, then what do I do now? What is my life now that I've given up the false ego? Where do you go from there? When you give up your identity, people think, oh, you're lost now. You can't, at least the false ego says, you can't give me up. What will you be without me? But actually, the Shastra is saying to us, and Lord Chaitanya comes and says, you'll be everything. You get everything when you give up that small world of your mind. that's contained within the little walls of your mind. This is who I am. And it's interesting too. You can observe others perhaps thinking I am something, and then Prabhupada observed how this homeless man was carrying around some half-burned firewood at Howrah Station, and considering I got pretty good haul here. I'm doing okay. I got a good little thing going on here. I don't know if you've got anything. I got some half-burned firewood. And that's what everyone's carrying around here in this world, thinking that I have something, and I am something. And when one's able to give that up, Trinadapi Suni Chena, and see that I'm simply being blown around by the winds of the modes of material nature. I'm helpless here. I'm lower than the straw on the street. This is an opening point to appreciate Krishna and appreciate His holy name. And then comes Turor api sahishnana, to be more tolerant than tree. This is the foremost of all practices, which Krishna mentions over and over again. How can I substantiate that? Well, in the Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, Krishna says, I'm sorry? Oh man, now I'm hearing different things. No. Give me 2:15, please, but within 5 seconds. Yam hina vyatayante te purusham purusharshapa samadhuka sukham dhiram somritat vaya kalpate. Can we still have 2:15? Within 5 seconds? 5 seconds of Brahma. So, this, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, is the way in which 2:15. I'm so impatient. Yam hina vyatayantyete purusham purusharshapa samatuka sukham dhiram samritat vaya kalpate, which is the opposite of what the verse saying. And if you scroll down to the translation, please. It says, O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. Choror api sunichin, to be tolerant like a tree. This anyone can practice. And if you make this an objective, the practice of being as tolerant as the tree, are there any circumstances recently within the last 24 hours for which you've had to tolerate? Just as a test. We're just doing this as a test to see if there's any opportunity to follow this instruction. Okay, 2 hands have gone up. Let's hear what you had to go through. We'll try to commiserate.
My son, he dropped some milk on this carpet, chocolate milk.
That's bad
White
news.
carpet.
I don't know, that may be off the charts. Okay.
My meeting yesterday's, after 5 o'clock, it was stretching further. I couldn't take it anymore. After 20 minutes, I said, I need to go. Thank you very much.
That's okay. You have a carte blanche to do that. Tell your boss. I ain't coming in, and you go, I got to go to Harinam. I'll see you later. Okay, what else?
So my younger one, right? She sees me shaving my beard, right? She's fascinated by that. So yesterday we were downstairs, eating our dinner, and she thought it's fancy, and she tried to use my eraser, and she cut her upper lip, and she came down crying. So that was disturbing for me.
So there's unlimited ways when you have kids, right? You had one.
Like some of the coworker, I need some work to be done, and then he was like little lazy. Then we can't make the change of attitude or there. So
that's very hard to tolerate. Yeah. It could go on and on. We could have a festival like this. We could invite people. It would be like a sadhu sangha retreat. Only everyone get to tell all the things that are going wrong. And so Krishna therefore gives this verse, O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. This is an essential practice. Choror api sunishna. Remember the tree, Lord Chaitanya says. How does a tree act in all these circumstances? It simply tolerates. It's such a powerful instruction. And then amanina manadena, which means to give respect to others, but without expecting anything in return. Boy, is that hard, isn't it? But it's quite liberating. It makes one eligible for liberation. That's a pretty good trade-off, right? That you give up your need to be honored and respected and seen as the one who created something, and you give all respect to other people. Counterintuitive to the false ego. But once one begins that practice, one sees that I'm becoming fuller, I'm becoming a bigger person, I'm actually really enjoying life. And what to speak then, one attains the great ability to chant the holy name of the Lord with full concentration. So Lord Chaitanya gives these points. So within the pastime of at Kurukshetra, at the Ratha Yatra pastime, there are unlimited ways in which we can connect to the esoteric aspect of this festival in practical ways. And if one tries to bypass these practical ways and tries to enter into the mood of the residents of Vrindavan, or considers oneself their follower and so forth, without paying these tolls along the way, one takes it cheaply and becomes a disturbance to the rest of the Vaishnava society. Therefore, Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and Bhaktivinoda Thakur and all our acharyas were careful to warn us that as we move in this world, we must pay the tolls. Move in the world of devotional service, must pay the toll of being tolerant, being humble, giving respect to others, not taking respect in return. And one must do some significant service to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates before one becomes eligible to consider a lot of these things. Not that we don't consider them at all times. From the day that one comes to Krishna consciousness, one may hear all these things, but to consider oneself more advanced than others, or to obtain a superior position in devotional service, is obnoxious. Even those, the greatest of devotees, we'll find in the Brihat Bhagavatamrita, as Narada Muni tries to find out who's gotten the most mercy from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and interviews each devotee who claims that it's somebody else, and points Narada to the next person. And as soon as Narada approaches the next person, he or she says, "No, it's not me," and gives all the reasons, which are painful to hear, actually, because we don't want to hear these devotees, when they speak from their point of humility, they're denigrating themselves, and we feel, oh, please, let's move on to the next one. And when we come to the gopis of Vrindavan, who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Ramya Kachirupasana Vraja Viduvargina Vokalpita. They have the highest position. They're considering everyone else to be on a higher position. So if someone enters and reads some esoteric books and thinks, now I know more than everyone else, I have a superior mood of worshiping Krishna, and that's the attitude, contrary to Trinadapi Sunichena, that I'm lower than the straw on the street, then you've tricked yourself. You think that you're on a superior platform, but the evidence shows otherwise. This is objective. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami that the symptoms of bhava become evident in 9 different ways. One of the ways that it becomes evident is that the person who's advancing and whose heart is melting due to the contact with the internal energy begins to think oneself less qualified than everyone else. He or she doesn't act as a person who's less qualified, becomes more and more expert, attentive and so forth to details, but feels him or herself less qualified. So if there's a twinge that now my group, my way of practicing is superior to others because I've obtained more knowledge, I'm connected in a different way, I've read more books than others, and so forth. And that twinge is there that I have a superior understanding. You've tricked yourself out of a taste for real devotional service. And we can see that in this pastime of the devotees who are approaching Krishna in great humility without any expectation and feeling that they are the most fallen and so forth. So right now we're going to sing a bhajan. Before we continue, yes, you may.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj, for a wonderful class. I'm not getting the reference, but I think I heard in some lectures that Narottam Das Thakur says that in our sadhana bhakti we follow the rules and regulations, and we follow all the practices, but in our heart of hearts, if I may allow to use that phrase, we can worship or we can meditate on worshipping Radha and Krishna, of course in a bona fide way, following the acharyas, but there are not many rules and regulations in that meditation. But I always had a question that, yes, we can, but is there always a chance that we may tip towards Sahajism and we may deviate from the actual, because if the maturity is not there, then maybe that meditation will spill over and we may neglect the rules and regulations of the sadhana bhakti.
Well, the process of coming to such a position is mentioned by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, which Prabhupada quotes in his verse to a verse in the Sri Upadeshamrita. Tanama rupa charitari sukirtananu smrityo kramena rasana manasi niyoja tishtan vraje tananuragi jananugami kalam nayed akilim ityupadesha saram. If you put that verse up, it's number 7. It's 8. It's number 8. Yeah. If within 5 seconds you could put up the verse, Nectar of Instruction, verse number 8. Is it physically possible within 5 seconds to put these up? 8 seconds. 3 seconds it's possible. So this, you should give these kind of tests to anybody in the booth to make it within 3 seconds. Wow, that was pretty fast. Let's give him a hand. He needs a little love since I've been harassing him this day. Okay, let's look at the translation. Translation: the essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time 24 hours a day in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. In this way, one should reside in Vraj, Goloka Vrindavan Dham, and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. We're talking about Raga Anuga Bhakti. Go down the purport, please. Since the mind may be one's enemy or one's friend, one has to train the mind to become his friend. The Krishna consciousness movement is especially meant for training the mind to always be engaged in Krishna's business. Interesting, Prabhupada uses the word business, busyness. The mind contains hundreds and thousands of impressions, not only of this life, but also of many, many lives of the past. These impressions sometimes come in contact with one another and produce contradictory pictures. In this way, the mind's function can be dangerous for a conditioned soul. Students of psychology are aware of the mind's various psychological changes. In Bhagavad Gita 8.6, it is said, Yang vapi smaran bhavam dajatyante kalevaram. Feel free to join in. Tam tam evaite kaunteya sadatad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Keep going. At the time of death, the mind and intelligence of a living entity create the subtle form of a certain type of body for the next life. If the mind suddenly thinks of something not very congenial, one has to take a corresponding birth in the next life. On the other hand, if one can think of Krishna at the time of death, he can be transferred to the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. This process of transmigration is very subtle. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami advises devotees to train their minds in order that they will be unable to remember anything other than Krishna. Similarly, the tongue should be trained to speak of Krishna only and to taste only Krishna Prasad. Srila Rupa Goswami further advises, Tishtam Vraje. One should live in Vrindavan or any part of Vrajabhumi. Vrajabhumi, or the land of Vrindavan, is supposed to be 84 kroshas in area. 1 krosha equals 2 square miles. When one makes Vrindavan his residence, he should take shelter of an advanced devotee there. A couple of points I just want to bring out as we're going along. At the top of this page that's on the screen, similarly, the tongue should be trained to speak only of Krishna. Oops. Go back, please. I don't know what happened. So there it is. Good. Similarly, the tongue should be trained to speak only of Krishna and to taste only Krishna Prasad. This is a beginning point to devotional service that requires some practice to speak only of Krishna. So this is mentioned in the Padma Purana, Atashi Krishna namani nabhaved grayamindriye sevamukhi jivado swayameva spuratyada. Where else would you start but with the basics? And this basic is given again and again, but especially in this verse that Prabhupada makes prominent. Watch what you say. That indicates what's in your heart. You can tell in your life where your heart is situated by what you're saying. And have you ever had the experience where you say something and then you say, why did I say that? Why did I say it like that? What's in me? You can judge. And when Arjuna asked Krishna, how do I tell who's advanced? Who's on that platform you're talking about? Krishna said, watch what they say. Just follow the speech, and you'll know everything about the person from the way they speak. So this is very important. How someone's speaking, you can judge and you can understand, because you can't hold it back. It just comes out. Why did you say it? It just came out. It came out of where? It came out of your heart. So that's where it comes from. And as we advance in devotional service, we can understand what's coming out from within our heart, the condition of our heart. But in the meantime, the Shastra says, be careful what you say. Organize your speech in such a way that you talk about Krishna. And when you speak to others, speak truthfully. That's hard. That's really hard, because the false ego wants to paint another picture. What really happened? And your tongue starts telling something. It's like, why are you telling them that? That didn't really happen. You're adding on 3 more points. Why not just tell what happened? It's like, I can't, because it's not good enough. I'm not good enough. It's not. So one's not in a self-realized position. When one has that tendency, but we can control the tongue consciously and by that process. And then taking Krishna Prasadam, it's really important, what we eat, the vibration of the food that we're taking in. And we learn to honor Mahaprasadam. This is an advanced activity, honoring Mahaprasadam and avoiding those kinds of foods that will have a pernicious effect on our consciousness. Prabhupada uses the word, when you eat food cooked by materialists, your mind becomes wicked. Ouch! You want a wicked mind? You ever had a wicked dream before? It's like, where did that come from? What you just ate. It came out of your food. Be careful. There's something in that. It gets in your cells, it gets in your blood. There's other people, it's like, why do I have to avoid this and this and that? Why do I have to avoid onions and garlic? Because Krishna doesn't eat it. We don't offer it to Krishna. It stinks. And so we don't like it. And then you got to eat it, and then you got to take in all kinds of wicked vibrations and everything else that goes with food. But Mahaprasadam it just purifies the mind. Prasade sarvatu kanam hanir asyopajayate prasanna chetaso yashu buddhi paryavatishtate. What a verse. when you get that prasad, prasade sarvadukhanam hanir, your misery goes away. Is Sri Ram here? Oh, there you are. Remember when we went to Tirupati? He's an expert at getting prasadam at Tirupati because I was starving. I had a jet lag, and he took me so mercifully up to see Balaji. I went in to see Balaji, and then I went through for the darshan. They were pushing everyone through. And when I got up there, the pujari grabbed me, and he said, "See God, see God." And he was like, kept me turning the face, and I go, "Okay, yeah, I can see him." And I was offering prayers, and I thought, okay, I don't want to stay too long because everyone's, pushing, going through, and I started walking. No, you see God. It's like, okay. And then we went out, and we went to the prasadam hall, and you're supposed to get a little cup of lemon rice. And Sri Ram gave me that. You go to a little plaza, a little patio area past the place, and I ate that, and I thought that was the best thing I ever had in my life. So Sri Ram went and got me another one, and I ate that one, and then he got me another one, and it was lined up, and there were these down the... I just kept eating them over and over, and that was the most ecstatic experience of my entire life. Standing there at Tirupati, having Sri Ram run back and forth and grab these plates or the little cups of that rice. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talks about it or Kaviraj Goswami speaks about the Lord's pastime of taking prasadam and tasting nectar. He says there's Krishna Pela, that Krishna's saliva has touched this. It's such an intimate thing, taking the remnants of Krishna. And then in that whole realm of taking this Krishna prasadam, honoring it, and feeling some ecstasy in the association of devotees, there's songs about it. I mean, who sings? Nowadays, people are into fast food. You're driving, give me a burger, man. And they just eat it as fast as they can. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote 6 or 7 songs. One of them's for before prasadam. One of them's for during prasadam. One of them's for eating khichdi. One's for eating sweets. What are you doing? I'm singing about my food. This is devotional service. This is Krishna prasadam. That's happiness in the association of devotees taking Krishna prasadam. And so right within that one line, we hear it when the tongue should be trained to train it like a little puppy. When I was walking back and forth to my apartment in Chicago, I was just in Chicago, and 5 blocks from the temple, which is a nice interval because it gives a little time to stretch out back and forth, coming to the apartment and the temple. But every day I'd see this man when I was walking back after finishing my rounds to the apartment. I'd see this man, he had this puppy on a leash. And the puppy was just going wild, jumping here and there, and he was trying to restrain him all the way down the street. And I saw him every day that I was there coming by. And I was thinking about this puppy in the mind, and training the mind and the tongue and so forth. It wants to jump here and there everywhere. But if I go back in a year or something like that, if the man is persistent and he knows how to train a dog, then I'll see the dog will heel and he'll walk along and he'll say, sit, and the dog will sit. And so similarly, the tongue has to be trained like that too. It wants to say everything and anything. And if you let it do that, when puppies grow up, if you don't train them, and I've seen this before too, someone had a dog that they didn't train, and he was a wild beast. A wild beast. I mean, he was friendly enough, but he'd kill you with his love. And he'd just run over. He didn't have any discretion whatsoever. They just kept him on a leash permanently, tied to it, and no training him after that. So you have to be careful early on. Start as soon as you can. Train the tongue. Train the tongue at home, train the tongue when you're working, train the tongue all the time. Krishna says these austerities of the tongue right there. Similarly, the tongue should be trained to speak only of Krishna, to taste only Krishna prasadam. Just from that, if one is focusing on these basic principles, then one can make solid advancement in devotional service. So then continuing to the point we're trying to get to. Srila Rupa Goswami further advises Tishtam Vraje. One should live in Vrindavana or any part of Rajabhumi. Vrajabhumi, or the land of Vrindavan, is supposed to be 84 krosha in area. 1 krosha equals 2 square miles. When one makes Vrindavan his residence, he should take shelter of an advanced devotee there. In this way, one should always think of Krishna and his pastimes. Now, Prabhupada gave this instruction, go to Vrindavan for 3 days. Why did he say that? 3 days. Huh? You get a little taste, but not if you don't become too familiar and make an offense. Yeah. And so one has to be careful going to the Dham, not to become overly familiar. And you can't barge into the Dham. As Agnidev Prabhu said when he was here, you can't enter into Goloka with your shoes on. It's like, hey, I'm here. What's up? You have to go in with complete humility. This living in Vrindavan doesn't require physically being there, although it's highly recommended. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, if you can't be there physically, you should live there within your mind. You should develop an affection for being in the Dham, an attachment to being there. But again, if one goes to Vrindavan and thinks, I'm living in the Dham and all these other small-timers, they're not in the Dham, then you're not in the Dham. You're in Naraka. You're in hell because you think you're better than everyone else. Continuing, in this way, one should always think of Krishna and his pastimes. This is further Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-294. Krishnam smaram janam chasya preshtam nija samihitam tat tat kata ratash chasau kuryad vasam vrajesada. A devotee should always reside in the transcendental realm of Vraja and always engage in Krishna smaranam janam chasya preshtam. The remembrance of Sri Krishna and his beloved associates. By following in the footsteps of such associates and their entering under the eternal guidance, and by entering under their eternal guidance, one can acquire an intense desire to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Again, Srila Rupa Goswami states in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-295, Seva Rupena, Siddha Rupena Chatrahi, Tadbhava Lipsuna Karya, Vrajo Lokanusavrataha. In the transcendental realm of Vraja, Vrajadham, one should serve the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna with a feeling similar to that of his associates, and one should place himself under the direct guidance of a particular associate of Krishna and should follow in his footsteps. This method is applicable both in the stage of sadhana, spiritual practice is executed well in the stage of bondage, and in the stage of sadhya, God realization, when one is a siddha purusha, spiritually perfect soul. So in both cases, even in our practice stage and in the perfect stage, there's a way in which we're following in the wake of a particular resident of Vrindavan. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur will explain the process of coming to this. Is everyone still okay? Sri Ram, you all right? Okay. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has commented as follows upon this verse. One who has not yet developed interest in Krishna consciousness should give up all material motives and train his mind by following the progressive regulative principles, namely chanting and remembering Krishna and his name, form, quality, pastimes, and so forth. In this way, after developing a taste for such things, one should try to live in Vrindavan and pass his constantly remembering Krishna's name, fame, pastimes, and qualities under the direction and protection of an expert devotee. This is the sum and substance of all instruction regarding the cultivation of devotional service. In the neophyte stage, one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. This is called Shravana Dasha, the stage of hearing. By constantly hearing the transcendental holy name of Krishna and hearing of his transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes, one can attain to the stage of acceptance called Varna Dasha. When one attains this stage, he becomes attached to the hearing of Krishna Katha. When one is able to, in ecstasy, he attains the stage of smaranavasta, smaranavasta, the stage of remembering. Recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance are the 5 items of progressive Krishna Smarana. At first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted at intervals, but later remembrance proceeds uninterrupted. When remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated. It is called meditation. When meditation expands and becomes constant, it is called anusmriti. But uninterrupted and unceasing anusmriti, stage of samadhi or spiritual trance. After smarana dasha or samadhi has fully developed, the soul comes to understand his original constitutional position. At that time, he can perfectly and clearly understand his eternal relationship with Krishna. That is called the perfection of his life. Chaitanya Charitamrita advises those who are neophytes to give up all kinds of motivated desires and simply engage in the regulative devotional service of the Lord according to the directions of the scriptures. In this way, a neophyte can gradually develop attachment for Krishna's name, fame, form, qualities, and so forth. When one has developed such attachment, he can spontaneously serve the lotus feet of Krishna, even without following the regulative principles. This is called raga bhakti, or devotional service in spontaneous love. At that stage, the devotee can follow in the footsteps of one of the eternal associates of Krishna in Vrindavan. This is called raga nuga bhakti. Kumamela? Raganuga bhakti, or spontaneous devotional service, can be executed in the Shantaras, when like Krishna's cows, or the stick or flute in the hand of Krishna, or the flowers around Krishna's neck. In the Dasya Ras, one follows in the footsteps of servants like Chitrak, Patrak, and Raktak. In the friendly Sakya Ras, one can become a friend like Baladev, Sridhama, or Sudama. In the Vatsalya Ras, characterized by parental affection, one can become like Nanda Maharaj or Yashoda. And in the Madhurya Ras, characterized by conjugal love, one can become like Srimati Radharani, or her lady friends such as Lalita, and her serving maids, Manjaris, like Rupa and Rati. This is the essence of all instruction in the matter of devotional service. In the purport we just heard, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, represented by Srila Prabhupada, points out that there's a process of hearing and chanting and developing it. And first Prabhupada mentions even interest in Krishna consciousness. Now that you could say, oh, I have an interest in it. How much are you interested? Now the differentiation is pointed out in the Shastra that to the degree that you're not interested in anything else, that's how much you're interested in Krishna consciousness. Tell that the other things that you're interested in are to the proportion that you're interested in those things, you're not interested in Krishna consciousness. So you can look at that side of it and say, what are the proportion of interests that I have outside of Krishna consciousness? Just measure your interest in those terms. And taste is something which has very specific definitions given in the bhakti scriptures, very specifically in the Nectar of Devotion. Also in the Madhurya Kadambini, there's a description of what it means to actually have a taste. In the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, when giving description of devotional service affected by the 3 modes of material nature as opposed to devotional service that is no longer encumbered by the 3 modes of material nature, Lord Kapiladev gives a definition that Rupa Goswami uses in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that just after hearing about Krishna, the mind immediately runs after that, just as the Ganges flows downward towards the sea, and there's no impediment whatsoever. The mind always wants to hear about Krishna. And we can take these as signposts as we move forward in devotional service, but what's very practical is that there is a way in which we can invest our time and energy before we have a taste. That this is the system of sadhana that we have, a jata ruchi. Before the taste is born, there's a way in which we go on with the process. We're hearing and chanting, maybe we don't have full taste. We regularly hear and chant. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya means every day. Don't hesitate or don't make a gap in your devotional service and think, I'll make up for it later. It's really hard to make up for things. Anybody who practices an instrument, who plays some kind of sport, or is involved in accounting, for instance, knows that it's really hard to make up for things later. Better to stay consistent with what you do. And the same thing in the practice of our devotional service. Even before you have a taste, regulate your life in such a way that you're constantly hearing, or at least regularly hearing, without any gaps. If you miss 1 or 2 days, it makes a difference in the overall scheme of your life. So stay constant. And as one goes on serving the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Navadip Dham Mahatma, much is made by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. If you're serving Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, in whatever capacity you can, in what's he calls dasya ras, means out of a mood of service to the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says you'll come to this higher position of having a taste for the pastimes of Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan. Much coveted thing that can't be entered into lightly or prematurely. But if one goes on serving the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one will come to that position because that's what's in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's his heart. And he's the father of the Sankirtan movement. When you with all your heart and soul throughout this lifetime, those kinds of treasures will come to you. Pardon? Haribol. That's a Haribol moment. Hare Krishna, Haribol. So we'll sing this song by Srila Narottam Das Thakur, which is Sri Chaitanya Hari Hari Vipale. Hari Hari Vipale Chanama Goinu. I think we're up to 4 seconds. Got 4 more seconds to go. Manusha Janama, Panusha Janama Hoy, Radha Krishna Nabajiya. Manusha Janama Paya Radha Krishna Nabajiya. Aniya Shuniya Bisha Kainu. Janiya Shuniya Bisha Kainu. Golokera Premadhana Harinama Sankirtana. Golokera Premadhana Harinama Sankirtana. Ratina Janmilo Keneta Ratina Janmilo Keneta Samsara Bhishanale Dibanishi Hiyajvale Samsara Bhishanale Dibanishi Jwale Juraite na koinu pa Juraite na koinu pa Brajendra Nandana Jai Shachi Sutta Hoelo She Brajendra Nandana Jai Shachi Sutta Hoelo Se Balaram Hoelo Nita Balaram Hoilo Nita Dinahina Jata Chilo Hariname Udari Dinahina Jata Chilo Hariname Udarilo Tara Shakshi Jagamada Tara Sakshi Jagamada Ha Prabhu Nanda Sutta Vrishabhanu Sutta Juta Ha ha Prabhu Nanda Sutta Vrishabhanu Sutta Juta Koruna Koro He Baro Koruna Koro He Baro Naratamo Dasakoi Natehilo Rangapa Narotamo Dasakoi Natailo Rangapa Toma bine ke ache amara Toma bine ke ache amara Ha ha Prabhu Nanda Sutta Vrishabhanu Sutta Juta Ha Prabhu Nanda Sutta Vrishabhanu Sutta Juta Karuna Ko Baro Karuna Koro E Baro Ha Prabhu Nanda Sutta Vrishabhanu Sutta Juta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Gaur Premanande. Translation, please. O Lord Hari, I have spent my life uselessly, having attained birth and having not worshipped. Net worshipped. That sounds like a Silicon Valley term. Not worshipped Radha and Krishna. I have knowingly drunk poison. The treasure of divine love in Goloka Vrindavan has descended as the congregation of Lord Hari's holy names. Why did my attraction for that chanting never come about? Day and night, my heart burns from the fire of the poison of worldliness, and I have not taken the means to relieve it. Was the son of the king of Vraja, became the son of Shachi, Lord Chaitanya, and Balaram became Nitai. The holy name delivered all those souls who were lowly and wretched. The two sinners, Jagai and Madai, are evidence of this. O Lord Krishna, son of Nanda, accompanied by the daughter of Vrishabhanu, please be merciful to me now. Narottam Das Thakur says, O Lord, please do not push me away from your reddish lotus feet, for who is my beloved except for you? Go Premanande. Just meditating on tomorrow. Just keep reading Krishna book for the rest of the day. But in any case, we'll go on, keep reading in this section if you can, when you get home. If you can finish it, it'd be nice before the Rath Yatra tomorrow, because I interjected so much We didn't get that far, maybe about 33% through. But a couple points just about Rath Yatra in general. As I mentioned before, it's an expression of the highest love between Krishna and his devotees. And in the Krishna's, of Lord Chaitanya's dancing at Rath Yatra, we see the purport of the idea that love, this pure love, conquers Krishna, and that he has to stop. Lord Jagannath's riding in the cart, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is representing Srimati Radharani at the Rath Yatra festival as he's dancing. And Lord Jagannath, the Supreme Lord of the universe, has to stop his chariot to watch the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And also, when the chariot stops, no one else can move it. The great, strong men who were there couldn't move it. There were official people brought in. I was once at Rath Yatra. I stayed for the whole a month before, and then I stayed afterwards for when the Rath Yatra cart was coming back. And it was pouring rain, like just coming down, like so strong. There were floods in every street practically. And I went down to the Rath Yatra. There weren't many people there. And then the military were pulling the ropes mostly. I felt like I was all alone there with Lord Jagannath at one point. But the strongest men came out to try to pull the carts. They couldn't do it. Then King Prataparudra went out himself. Then he got elephants to try to push. The cart wouldn't move. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went with his head. He put it on the back of the cart, and then the cart began to move, making that sound. And explains, Kaviraj Goswami and Srila Prabhupada are explaining in that section about how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is subdued, Lord Jagannath is subdued by the love of Srimati Radharani. And this phenomena is explained by Lord Brahma in his prayers. Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukharitam bhavadiyavartam stane stita shrutikatam tanavan manobir I prayaso jitta dito pyasitais trilokyam. That you should give up the trying to understand God with your mental facility. If you were to do that, you wouldn't be very impressed anyway. If you could circumscribe the Supreme Personality of Godhead just by your thought process, then what kind of God is he anyway? So be satisfied that he's got inconceivable power. He's the greatest. Anyway, makes sense. So jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukharidhan. Go on with your devotional practices out of appreciation for the previous acharyas, and do your service in that mood of surrender. And stanistita ashrudigatam. Stay in your position. Whatever position you're in now, you can go to the highest level if you continue to hear and chant. Stane stita shrutikatam tanavan monobir. Make yourself a submissive hearer. Shrutikatam tanavan monobir. And continue to serve with your body, mind. And then he says that the unconquerable becomes conquered. Jita becomes ajita. Because one who does this, follows this process, comes to the point the love becomes so intense that Krishna becomes attracted to it. He becomes subservient to it, the love of the residents of Vrindavan. In fact, in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Karabhajan Muni says, Maya mrigam dayita yechitanam anvadavad, that Krishna becomes like a plaything in the hands of the gopis and the other residents of Vrindavan. He won't leave there. He never leaves. And sometimes when they were traveling to Gokula on the cart, they took Krishna away as a baby. The gopis, elderly gopis, they were clapping and singing songs. He said, Krishna, if you dance, we'll give you half a sweetmeat. They're talking to the Supreme God who creates all the oceans and everything. It's like, we'll give you half a sweetmeat if you dance for us. Krishna starts dancing. But it's not because he has to, it's because, well, it is. He's saying, Mayamragam, he's so taken with their love, the simplicity and just the power of their love, that he dances for them. And this is happening in the in the rasa between Lord Jagannath and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing at Rath. Such an esoteric festival. It's not a protest like you see people go down the street. We want, what do we want? I don't know, no more war, or, I mean, they seem like noble causes, but this is something really different. And it's hard for people to know what it is. It's hard for us to know as we hear about it, and we understand that there's something really wonderful going on here. It's a manifestation that comes from the heart of the pure devotee. All the temples we see around the world now in ISKCON. Nikunjayuno ratikele siddhya. What does that mean in these verses of Guru Vashkam? Nikunjayuno. The deity of the Lord has made arrangements for Krishna's loving affairs. Here's a kunja right here. If you come in this place, Silicon Valley, we're just half a mile from Google. If you come in this place and you look and you go, oh, it's a kunja. Nikunjayuno ratikele siddhya. What's going on here? Ratikele siddhya. There's the perfection of loving affairs. There's pujaris up there as representatives. They're going up there and they're making all kinds of arrangements. What are they doing all day? What are you doing all day? Going up there, getting flowers, and they go to the market, picking out flowers. What are other people getting flowers for? Put in a hotel room or something like that? Put on a little bistro. I have a bistro. I put the flower. They would like my lasagna very much. But here, they're bringing flowers for Krishna, getting scents for Krishna, offering special food for Krishna and cooking. Nikunjayuno. Where did all these kunjas come from? They come from the heart of the devotee. That's where they reside. And then he comes and he'll say, put a deity here. Prabhupada, in various places, he established these kunjas, nikunja, where Radha and Krishna would perform their pastimes. And then everyone else can come and see it. It's a manifestation that the devotee's heart. And these Rathayatras, as we're at the Rathayatra, we can remember Prabhupada as a child was attracted to Lord Jagannath and the Rathayatra. When he saw it, he asked his father, I want to have that. That's what I want. And his father got him a Rathayatra cart. Prabhupada said, he told one of my work, he used to sleep at night. He'd keep the Rathayatra close to him and he'd keep his hand on it while he was sleeping. He didn't want to be separated from that Rathayatra cart. And then he manifested it from his heart all over the world. So when we go to Golden Gate Park, we'll see this manifestation that's come from the heart of Srila Prabhupada. And then this idea of real love, it's not when I'm pleased, it's when you please the beloved, and that's your real intention. And the last point I want to make, since we're coming down to the 7-minute warning, is just how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had organized the festival. Or at least he didn't organize the festival, but he organized his participants at the festival. And it's not that when one comes to spontaneous platform of loving God that you just say, let's just dance any way we want to dance. Let's do our own thing. That's not what spontaneous devotional service means. It means in your heart there's a spontaneous attraction for Krishna, but externally, it means, spontaneous means the love is not checked by the rules and regulations for worshiping Krishna. But it doesn't mean that you do your devotional service in a haphazard way. It means if you're engaged in spontaneous service, you'll very carefully cook for Krishna, and also will follow in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You'll carefully organize the kirtan. So how did he do it? He divided his parties in teams of 8. People from different villages came and he would make kirtan parties in each of them. He organized it ahead of time. 2 madungas in each party. How many? 2. With a lead dancer. People responded to the kirtan. And there were 7 people responding to the kirtan. Of course, no microphones, but one person was singing out and then 7 people responded. A lead dancer. Do we have lead dancers here? Vantika's a good lead dancer. One person was responsible for the choreography of the dancing. It was synchronized. So spontaneous dancing, in other words, because there's spontaneous love for God, doesn't mean you go wild and flail your arms. When devotees were dancing from the Radha Damodar party, they came. Here's one of our lead dancers. Welcome her. When devotee, little more than that though. Never get. Nothing worse than a faint, like people. Somebody gets up and just like, don't bother. It's okay. Yeah, when the devotees came from the Radha Damodar party and were dancing in front of Prabhupada, they were going like... And Prabhupada stopped the kirtan and he said, what is this? He said, it's like this. But then the devotees explained to Prabhupada they're in buses and they can't put their arms up. So they got used to dancing like this. But there's a lot of different kinds of dancing, and we should be aware of the fact that we're dancing in ecstasy of service. And don't get carried away by passion. That's not necessarily devotional dancing. That, oh, now look at me, I'm dancing harder and more than anyone. Or that you become demonstrative, just, and innovative in the way that you're dancing in such a way that it distracts from the mood of the kirtan. That's not devotional dancing. What's my evidence? Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu organized the dancing. There was choreography. A good example of this is Indradumna Maharaj. His kirtans, he organizes it ahead of time so that they're dancing in unison. There's some choreography to it. Say, oh, that's not spontaneous. Yes, it is. It's spontaneous towards the mood of the kirtan, but then done in such a way that it's beautiful and attractive. So one person would lead the others and one person would lead the other in dancing. So the core base of kirtan should be devotion, not passion or exhibitionism. Not passion or exhibitionism. It should be devotion, sing in devotion. And if that simple devotion is there, and at the same time there's some organization around it, it becomes very beautiful. See at Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri, in the millions of people that are out there, at the same time you can notice the groups that are organized. I saw one group, I couldn't believe how hot it was. There's no hotter place than Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri. By the time the sun came, we got up at 2 in the morning, and by the time you could barely see the sun at about 3:30 in the morning, it was hot enough to cook a kachori on the roof. And I saw there was one group out there, they must have 100 people. You could notice they were all dressed in the same way, and they were dancing in a circle, very nice choreography, very synchronized, and they really stood out in the group. And it was beautiful. A lot of devotion in that. So thinking about those kinds of things. Swarup Damodar used to sing to Lord Chaitanya to keep the river of prema flowing. In the first party, imagine this, of the kirtan, Swarup Damodar was the singer and Advaita was the dancer. The second kirtan, Srivas was the leader. That's where the kirtan all started. And like, who's leading the kirtan? Srivas Pandit. And then you've got Lord Nityananda as the dancer. You want to be in that kirtan? We want to be in that kirtan. Yes, we do. Then Mukunda was a singer. Another Haridas Thakur was the dancer. The senior Haridas was the dancer. This is Prem Kirtan. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this comes at Rath Yatra. We should remember, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates did this, and they were relishing the mellow of Lord Jagannath being there and coming back to Vrindavan. This is what they were remembering, and this was the Hare Krishna mantra was reminding them of this. So, Manangas had synchronicity. Madhur, Madhur, Madhur Bhaje. Everyone say, Madhur, Madhur, Madhur Bhaje. Madhur, Madhur, Madhur Bhaje. It's sweet. There's a way in which you can play the Madanga and you can be the best person on the planet. You can get in extra, your tals can be so expert, but you're not aware of what others are doing because you're way out ahead of them. because you know better, you know more, and so forth. And there can be a discord in that in the kirtan. Someone picks up the drum and it's like, I'll show them how to play the drum. If they're thinking like that and it comes out and they're playing, it's not madhur, it's not sweet. But when someone picks up the drum and they're thinking, let's play together, Prabhupada, you say, if the madanga makes dance, that's good madanga playing. If people start dancing, not when they start going like, wow, where'd you learn to play like that? You don't even notice it that you just picked up off the ground. That's madhur, it's sweet. That kind of, so it goes towards this mood of cooperation. And same thing with the other instruments. And then there's a beauty that reflects the fact that all of the individual devotees are aware of a higher power and they're trying to please the higher power. When that comes into the mood of the collective kirtan, then there's something that's really powerful, a higher ideal. So Lord Chaitanya danced in every party. And the drums were like rumbling thunder. So the organizer of the Rath Yatra festival in San Francisco for many years appropriately is named Jagannath Swami Das. And I talked to him when I was in Chicago. He called me up and he asked me if I would lead the kirtan in front of Lord Jagannath's cart. Now, because of the way the Rath Yatra goes on, although he asked me, I don't know if that'll happen or not. But since he did, I'm taking it as a service to go there and see if I can't do that. If I can, I can't. It's Lord Jagannath's will. But any of you who are not engaged in services, like distributing books along the way, or setting up the booth or something like that, if you so desire, I think it would be a good idea if we organize in front of the Jagannath's cart to do the and at least for some time, and we can organize around some of these principles that we just heard from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. What do you think? Yes. Okay. Then we'll try it. So what should we do then? Sing a dance in ecstasy. Wow, Kurnath just walked in. That's big news. That's a good sign. It's a harbinger for our success. And Jagarini too. Hare Krishna. Okay, so tomorrow the parade starts. Yes, Navina Prabhu. Let's get some Swiss management.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Just as a little retro from the LA experience, you were leading wonderful kirtan in front of Lady Subadra's cart, but there was about 3 or 4 people who were walking right next to you, and they were kind of very adamant to not join dancing. They were just kind of trotting along, but taking up the space around you. So it made it almost impossible to get actually some of that dancing going. It's hard in these events, especially with devotees, to organize or to move people around. So I think in a proactive way, if we can just, as you mentioned, have this kind of synergy of having a group with a lead singer and a lead dancer and some mridanga players, and you just come in there as a team, then these other people, they just have to be a little bit on the periphery. Otherwise, it makes it very hard person to inspire people who don't want to be drawn into, because they already set their mind on the way how they want to move. So to just come in there as a team, and in this way, actually, I think it can happen in a very beautiful way.
Okay, so we need somebody to help set up the team. Because it would be nice if everyone knew in advance that who was coming and who had other services, and we could come there and meet and join the team. Gandharvika's got an idea because she was making a gesture. Tell me, what's your idea?
I was just pointing to Mataji, Shyamalangi Mataji, that she organizes Harinam Means, not that I was putting on her head, means I can help it. I thought she's a qualified person.
Yeah, she's the devotees. They take up service and they put their heart and soul into it. They begin to distinguish themselves like that. That's a really good sign. When you distinguish yourself, and then when the service comes up, everyone goes, "Hey, you!" Like I looked at a devotee over here when we were talking about deity worship, and so forth. And it means you're being noticed. So, if you could put together a plan and let me know what it is, and let the other devotees know what it is, and organize the way you organized downtown, let's give an effort to a back and forth between now and tomorrow. So everyone has a clear idea of what they're going to do, and build up the energy for it. And I think that we should do, for the pleasure of Lord Jagannath, an organized and very enthusiastic performance of kirtan in front of his cart, along with all of book distribution that are going alongside. Navina, another thing? Haribo! Okay. So that'll include maybe the way you dress, and I think maybe I was thinking over here it would be a good idea, maybe a backup microphone, or who knows how those things work. Sometimes they work, 50% of the time they work. So if we have a little backup, mobile backup, that could be nice. Unless it interferes, the signal interferes with the other signal, or whatever it is. Last year I think they had it on a cord, because that's kind of seems like a sure thing, but our thing works for always. That's possible too, right? We could bring our own equipment. Why not? Oh, Jai Kanai, good. And the other is the other thought I had, and I just remembered it again, was that I'd like to at some point during the Rath Yatra festival for everyone to come together in front of Lord Jagannath's tent and sing the Brahma Samhita. That's why we didn't sing it this morning, by the way, because I wanted to get through some of this, and then we'll save it for tomorrow. And as we do in Los Angeles, for those of you who are down there, right before Lord Jagannath's leaving, we sing some prayers, like the whole Brahma Samhita, and then we sing the Sri Ishapanishad, we sing then the Nectar of Instruction, the second chapter of the Bhagavad, we sing a chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and then we should sing these nectar verses that we've been singing for a long time. Tavakatam ritam tapta jivanam kavirbiritam kalmashapaham shabaramangalam srimaratatam buddhidajana. Then so those verses we'll have all together. I think we already have them, right? And so if you have those available, and maybe Shamalangi, along with your communication, you can include when we can all meet at the tent. Would that be okay with everybody? Near the end, when we're all situated, give him a microphone. When Sri Kumar speaks, we want to hear what's happening.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in preparation, as we are making all this thing, many people stop us, and who don't know anything, they ask us, what's this? So is there any, like a 2-minute thing that we know how to express this festival in the words that they understand, and not in the words that we
You work
understand?
with the Kurnath Prabhu between now and tomorrow, although I see he brought a deposition with him in his hand there. I'm not sure what that is. There's a lot of paper there, so I was a little nervous. Is it all right? Yeah. Okay, we're not evicted. If you could work with Kurnath Prabhu and come up with some talking points and put those together and send them out on the WhatsApp to everybody, so everyone has, or whatever form you find is most stable, that everyone will have available to them, and everyone should memorize those talking points so you can explain to anybody in a nutshell what is the Rath Yatra. Yes?
Thank you.
May I just share one thing that we learn in Jagannath Puri? So His Grace Madhavanand Prabhu told, like always this question asked like by the new people. Then he told that It is a festival to bring the Lord out of mechanistic religion to the village of our heart.
Oh, out of mystic religion
To village of our heart.
to what?
Village of our
The
heart.
village of our heart. It is a way to bring the Lord out of mechanistic religion into the village of our heart. You got that one, Sri Kumar? And Karanath Prabhu? Should you decide to accept, is that okay? Yes. Okay, so not that, but the whole assignment to compile these things. And you can, if you have other suggestions for them, you can give it to them. Is that okay? You work together. So have, make a little, put it out on the, so we can use it and take it in a consumable way. What do you want to do that will make the most of the festival? Something to distribute, perhaps? We're going to do books. We have that all together, right? SKP is here? Malini, you listening? Yeah, go ahead, Malini. What do we got together? Yeah?
Please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhuji, on Vishnu Prabhupada.
Please accept ours. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. We're missing you.
Prabhuji, I'll be there in the temple in a minute. But we have the packing starting immediately after the...
What is that? Book packing. You're having book packing festival today. It's kind of like
Yes,
Lord
Prabhuji.
Chaitanya's mango eating festival. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji. And then we are also going on book distribution for Srimad Bhagavatam sets today.
Okay. That's fantastic. And what about at the festival? How many books are we going to distribute?
Prabhuji, we are doing 700 book packs.
Okay.
So about 2,000 books, Prabhuji.
Okay. 2,000 books during the festival. And then from the book tables are all right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Like usual, we'll have 4 or 5 tables.
Okay. And I understand that SKP talked to Madhuha yesterday and told her the ideal configuration for the tables.
I don't know, Prabhuji, he was going to talk.
Yes, he did. He told me.
Okay.
So that's a fact. Anything else that you all want to do? Anything extra that you've been thinking of doing some previous years that we should have done, that we should have had? Anything?
Prabhuji, we wanted to do Krishna books more this year.
More Krishna books.
So yes, Prabhuji, even in the parade, we wanted to carry some Krishna books along. If somebody already got a book pack previous years, we just want to give them a Krishna book.
Okay. And by the way, another one of our designated dancers just came in. Gita Priya, I think she can be... At the kirtan, I think that you should be one of the designated dancers. I like your dancing very much. So, okay. And what about other things? Creature comforts. Maybe do we need extra chairs? I noticed a lack of chairs. For some reason there's a moratorium on chairs, or some run on the market and they're as expensive as gold these days, so they're hard to find down at the Rath Yatra site. If you need chairs and things like that, that might be something. You have folding chair you can bring from home if you need a place to sit at some point. That might be a good point. Another thing is perennial concern. Don't think just because it's hot down here, it's going to be hot down there. You may be wrong. Hantai, as they say in Japan, opposite. It's the opposite weather down there that it is here. So bring layers. Even if you don't think that you need it when you're down here and you're sweating, just override that with your intelligence and say, San Francisco is like winter time and summer. And bring a few layers so that you don't have to leave early. I hate that. I got to go because I didn't bring my jacket, Hey, Malini's right here. If you didn't bring your jacket and you're freezing, but you still have Sevadu, you can't leave. You just got to freeze. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, go ahead.
Prabhu, we have the booth ready and one like a 10.20 tent this time. And also, I request devotees not go on the park, Prabhuji. Can you please instruct?
Don't drive on the grass, right? Don't go on the grass for any reason with your car. Otherwise, we may be banned for good from doing this service. It's something that happened a couple of years ago, or 3 years ago, or maybe 30 years ago, I don't know, but Jagannath Swami remembers it. And he brings it up to me 6 times every year. Like, I don't think we've done that for a while, but don't do it. Don't revive this, because I'll hear it at the time of death, this point about driving on the grass.
Prabhuji, and last thing, we'll be there by morning, by latest 8 o'clock or 8:30 in the.
Okay.
So we'll be all booths because the parade starts by 11. So before that, we should be ready.
Okay, and it's kind of nice down there early, because there are people walking around who weren't coming to the festival, just wondering what's going on. And I don't know, I'm thinking in ways in which to bring up the energy, because we get there and devotees are kind of wandering around, wondering what to do and things. It might be nice to set up a little bhajan while the devotees are setting up the booth or something like that, to bring some energy.
Wow,
what do you think of that?
Good idea, Prabhu. Yeah, it's a very good idea, Prabhu.
Let's ask
I'll coordinate with Shamalangi Mata.
Okay, so who's taking all the... Bring some extra water. You have water. That's already done. What about this idea of having... Is there a practical time we can have a bhajan when the energy is just gathering down there and some of the devotees are running around? What?
Usually they sing, some people are singing in the stage.
Before that. Before they get there, and it's just nice to have something going on. Is there something we can give out during those times too? Book packs? Any prasadam? Do we have lollipop prasadam that we can... Do we have enough? Okay. What about wristbands? Can we distribute some of those to devotees down there? How many do you have left?
We have at least.
So why don't you bring 100 down there? I have an idea for the rest of them, but bring them down there and we could talk about that and band people too, just in case. What other things?
Hare Krishna, I think it would be handy to have those flashcards which shows the temple address and stuff like that, so that people who are not interested in taking books, right, we can give them and ask them to come to the temple.
Okay. Do we have that? Yes, we have that. Now's the chance. Anything that you thought of before that you think... Okay, well, if you think of anything, then send it into Shamalangi, Malini, Sri Kumar, Akuranath, everyone who's on, and SKP, everyone on the list of helping to organize various departments that are down there. Oh, good. Hansapriya.
I just remember that we make around 2,000 packets of prasadam that stays on the cart from there to distribute. But every time we have leftover boxes because we can't get it out, 2,000 packages from the cart. So maybe we can just give it to the book distributors and they can pass it on.
Okay, book distributors, and how about some for the table also?
Okay.
Because it's nice when people come browsing, they get something they walk away with. So divide them up. Some at the table, someone. Kurnath, are you doing the question and answers this year? Okay. You think, or that's what? He's nodding yes. Okay. Do you have that all together?
Yes. Yeah, we'll talk
and
more
you have
details.
you'll put a book table in there?
We can put a book table also.
You should put a book table. I mean, question and answer booth should have a book table, and I think that the devotees giving the answers should refer often to the books as an answer to a lot of the questions. Just take one home. In other words, keep that as an objective to see how many books the question and answer booth can do, along with answering questions. Okay?
Okay.
All right. What else? Yes, Hansapriya. Okay, so there's a book packing festival today in just a few minutes after the prasadam, so everyone can participate. And that, knowing that, I won't take any more time. If you think of anything else, send them in. You can set up a little group who's collecting all these things, and we'll go from there. Shri Jagannath Ratha Yatra ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhascha kripasindabhe evacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha go premanande hari hari bo. We thank everyone who joined us online this morning. Krishna, it's so wonderful to be connected with you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.